Thanks for coming. It's the first hour today. So we basically came from the party, like literally 1 hour ago. Thanks, guys, for joining. I will host this speech with you guys, and we have quite diverse founders and partners here. So it would be good to start maybe with some introduction, and because these guys are VC funds, and well, I'm on the other side of the spectrum, so I'm the the guy who's usually seeking for funds. Let's maybe start with a very brief introduction. Ismet, can you just go with it? Because you are from the Turkish fund.
Yeah.
So and you are in which space? It's mobile, right?
So basically, my name is İsmet. I'm the general partner of Ludus Ventures. So we are based in Turkish, but we don't call ourselves as a Turkish founders because we have a lot of outside investment as that, like Medcore. So basically, we have two funds. One of them we founded early 2021, which is approximately $30 million. We raised recently this year as well, which is going to be additional $20 to $30 million. We'll see about it. We did our first closing. It's going good. We'll see about it. And our background, including me and my other partners, are from mobile, especially at tech space. So that's why our core focus is mobile gaming. So until now, we deployed 8% of our total capital into mobile gaming. But again, we're still quite excited about PC, console, ad tech platform, whatever you call it. We are a generalist in terms of gaming vertical, but we'll see.
Sure. Greg, you are on the complete other side. You are more PC, right?
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So my background in VC investment goes back till 2010. I'm running a VC that's investing mostly into premium games, so focusing on PCs, consoles, and similar stuff. So going very deep, focusing on one industry, and trying to make it in one.
Is it mostly PC or a little bit of mobile as well?
Till now, only PCs, consoles, and so on. No mobile investments yet.
Okay. Tomasz from Smog VC, Polish and US fund, right?
Yeah, we are partially Polish, partially American fund because we are the part of the a network of funds of Bragil brothers. There were two guys who are in the VC over 15 years now, and we have a bit different approach. We do not focus fully on the game dev. We also invest in a software. I would say game dev is a 20% of our portfolio. And yeah, we're based in Warsaw, in Poland, but we invest in the entire Eastern Europe, I would say. And in terms of stages, it's a pre-seed, seed stages.
Cool. I'm Paweł, and I have a company, mobile gaming company called Medcore, and we are VC funded. So two of the guys here, Ismet and Tomasz, invested in my company a few years ago. And yeah, a lot of things have changed since then. I mean, it was quite easy. 2-3 years ago, you maybe remember, there was a lot of money on the market, right? There were a lot of investments. Right now it changed. Even if we have way more cool content, we let go a lot of good people in the industry, and a lot of studios were closed. Can we start with a very basic question about the state of the basically market? Maybe Ismet, let's roll with it. I think it would be good to focus on mobile.
Yep, for sure.
Because we talked a lot. Sorry, just one thing. Ismet is very much into ad-based games, right? Yeah. And they have a lot of cool incentives in Turkey.
Yeah.
So it would be good to hear a bit about the incentives as well as about the
yeah, for sure. So let me start with state of the mobile. I think that's a very interesting topic. So because when you look 2020 or before that, mobile was thriving a lot, and everybody says that whether it is doomed or not. So I don't think what's happening in the mobile space is most related to about microeconomics. I think it's more because of micro trends, which is mostly driven by Apple and privacy updates. So if I look why mobile companies are struggling a lot, is mostly because of what's happening with the IDFA and targeting and UA. So in my opinion, if that stuff didn't happen, probably we will see still a growing and emerging mobile market. Said so, we are very optimistic about 2024 and future because We see a lot of big players actually adapted it. Probably all of you guys knows App11 is killing it at the moment, and other networks try to find other ways to cope with it. So we're not again as pessimistic as like a couple of years ago. We see a good trend, growing, emerging new genres. I mean, we all know like LTV is more important than ever, which you need to focus on live ops and other like things to make your game long term sustainable. But again, in nutshell, I can say maybe in next questions we can go into more in depth. But in overall, I mean, I'm more positive, especially in mobile. Turkey is a unique space, not only because of incentives, but also in the background. So if you look for the last couple of years, we have five $100 million plus M&A activities happened from Zynga and other players, and again we have a very good understanding about mobile ecosystem because of our unicorns, because of our experts in the field, and also our government is like a really incentivizing to do gaming in Turkey, because I think it's one of the flagships for Turkish economy to grow. I'm again like in 2024 we are super positive about outlook, and we are super positive about especially Turkey for a Turkish purpose.
May I ask more? What's the current situation or condition of the Turkish market, or most of the south from Poland's point of view?
I mean, like every single country has different dynamics, right? For example, like if you look at the Polish market, it has a very good PC in the indie community. If you look at Turkish, we are really good at casual. We are trying to diversify, just like Polish market. Like there's a lot of incentive for to grow up mobile in Polish. So we are doing the same thing for PC in Turkey, for example. But if you look at the core competency, our core competency is mostly on casual gaming. In Turkey, what I can say, we have a really good companies like Dream, Peak, Gram, or like recently emerged companies like Spike. We have a company called Paxi, which is amazing. So in nutshell, what I can say is we are really good at first developing in casual games and scaling it, not because of again incentives, because of the expertise coming from unicorns like a Battle for IFX. So that's what I can say as an overall nutshell.
Yeah. So by the way, maybe we can extend the question. I know we will talk a moment longer. What trends do you see? If I would start right now a mobile gaming company, so what should I do? I mean, I shouldn't listen to you. I should just run the company, figure it out on myself.
Yeah.
But
So first, be resilient. Like besides everything, right? You have to be really rock solid psychology because it's really hard at the moment. So what you can do. So what we are saying is, when there's a trend, it's too late for you to do it. So you need to foresee before something getting a trend. So like now, like in an overall perspective, I would say get away from hyper casual and hyper casual publishing. It's like too saturated. Just focus on innovative projects and focus on two things: scalability and marketability, which means that your product needs to marketable and scale really easy. And if you look that perspective, I mean, mostly it hits like a casual or casualized mid-core strategy, whatever you can do it. So in my point of view, first look at your core competency, right? What as a studio you can do. So be realistic about your objectives, because again, fundraising is hard, finding money is hard, finding a publisher is hard. Look at your resources, what you can develop, and just try to be smart what you can do about it. In terms of trends, I can say two major things. One of them is K factors is most important than ever, which means that we didn't have community focus for the last 5 years. But if you look, having a strong community, increase organic traffic, K factor, like a driving more organic users per acquired users is really important. That's the one thing. Whatever you can do it, just try to have some good organic uplifts, whether you're doing racing, simulations, casual, that kind of stuff. And second one is focus on long-term retention without harming your CPI, which means that you need to focus on live ops, events, calendars, whatever you call it. But it's like a 7-day payback games, short term. It's ended right now.
sure, I mean, I'm in the business, so I understand that we invest very much into live ops. That's the biggest thing. Greg, so one more time, the question to you, because you are on the second side of gaming. You are with the PC and consoles. Can you tell us something about the condition? I mean, we saw so many companies being closed with so great content. Not sure about Poland, but in the world it was a disaster.
Well, interesting fact is that 2023 was the best year for players for years, but not necessary for the studios. So people making the games were actually struggling in 2023. The whole market, when it comes to the player base, is kind of stable. On PC and console, you didn't have like a wave from COVID. So you didn't have like a sudden increase in players and sudden drop. But 2023 was the year that so many games were released and big games were released at the same time. So players had a lot of choice what to play. And unfortunately, a lot of companies that fundraised in COVID, they actually ran out of cash at that point. Not all of them even managed to release the product that they were working on. So we had a lot of early access fails, unfortunately. So what? That's the case why lots of players started to dislike early access at this point. So unfortunately, we're gonna see more and more closures happening, and only the strong will survive.
Can I ask something? What happened to the products? Were they acquired or just vanished or what?
Now they're just slowly dying.
So if I would start a gaming company that makes PC games or console games, what trends should I look at?
So there's not like you need to go in a particular genre. You know, the genre is something that people choose, but that's not something that you should build your company upon. Actually, the most resilient companies, the companies that succeed, they have the vision and they work on a game and improve it with every iteration. Supergiant games, everyone knows Hades, but they work on the similar games, and Hades is the third game in a very similar way. Baldur's Gate, that's a Divinity Original Sin 3, for example. You know, that's the way the game was good. It was not a sudden idea. It was just a hard work that they managed to convert into a proper game.
Any great IP that you would recommend right now that you know just went above any expectation?
When it comes to IPs, it can be double-edged sword. So it's not necessary that you have to follow one. You can create one, but that's not something that is gonna help bad game to survive. You need to actually have a gameplay first.
Sure. Tomek, you are doing a lot of stuff that is game-related, not really just games. Any condition of this market, this additional stuff to gaming?
Yeah, actually, we saw a lot of stuff with like element of AI. A lot of startups coming to us and pitching like a lot of different software which can like improve the development process. So, for example, the AI generating the landscapes on. Or yesterday, I talked to one founder here at this event that is doing like generative AI for like animation of your character. So something like alternative for the current motion capture technology. So I think like there will be like a lot of different new products on this market in the coming years, which can somehow revolutionize the development process. And I think there is like a lot of chances for this market. And maybe in the last years we had a constant like a growth of the cost of the production, but I think the AI can somehow revolutionize it and actually decrease the production process in the companies, because if you have those like automation tools, you can actually make much more with like a smaller resources, right? So for sure we see those trends, especially of course the AI is like a buzzword, so we have to be very cautious what we pick, how we analyze those projects. There will be probably like a few winners and a lot of losers there. So it's like a hard market and also hard to predict. But yeah, for sure, we see there like our opportunity. And as I said, we invest mostly in a software, like very broadly. So I think this is actually like a space where we plan to invest more than in a pure like a software game developers, right? So yeah.
Sure. If it's official, obviously, are you just talking about and thinking about AI, or do you invest in AI? Have you invested in any company that is doing anything AI related?
Yeah, now almost like everyone puts something like, AI to his deck, so we can say yes, of course. But in some projects, this AI is just the buzzword, as I said. Um, but yeah, like the use of like LLMs in different software products, the machine learning, this is what we are looking at. I think like from the software perspective, we like this space of like dev tools a lot. So yeah, we are investing here.
So, Ismail, maybe I can ask you. You know the art space very well. They are using AI, right? A lot. And have you talked with the guys?
So we are taking a video recording, so
Okay.
I would say no.
Okay, cool. Let's just skip the question. So, is it high risk investing in games still?
So I mean, like, if there's a money on the table, everything is high risk at some certain point, right? But I would say, like, still gaming one of the safe harbors because, like, if you look the numbers, we are still have 3.3 billion gamers in the worldwide. So somebody still plays games, and if you like the overall sentiment, gaming ecosystem is still growing. I mean, sometimes PC grows, sometimes mobile grows, but it's growing, and we are consuming. And one thing that I like is if you look to entertainment per cost hour, there's a lot of research you can find from internet. Like it's the cheapest entertainment type. Gaming is the cheapest, way cheaper than to go theme park, cinema, whatever you call it, and it's accessible. So in my point of view, like a human still needs some degree of entertainment, and I believe like it's risky, but like it's not that risky compared to other verticals. Just look at what happens in other verticals like fintech, healthcare, all of them has struggles. But I mean, in gaming, there are a lot of things has a drives us a very positive sentiment. So I believe like it's risky, but it's not that risky if you knew how you're gonna invest. So if you ask me, of course, if you're gonna write $5 million check for a indie studio who is target to sell 500,000 copies, it's insane, right? You're not getting your money back.
Let's talk about money in a moment.
Or let's say that if you write a check from a studio, like let's say $2 million for a studio who wants to who disrupt AAA RPG market, right? It's not gonna be happening for $2 million. But again, if you find the smarts, you can reduce your risks a lot, and that's why in gaming there's a lot of gaming VCs. Like I think it is one of the most specialized investment arms in the whole investment world. So yeah.
Okay, so what would you invest in right now?
So, like it depends, right? It depends on the opportunity. Like our expertise in mobile, so we can write checks more easily on the mobile side. But what we are seeking is first, of course, good founders, right? Founder is always key to mobile because you can do a lot of research, a lot of market analysis, but you never know, right, whether your game is gonna sell or not, or in mobile, what is the CPI gonna be? You can guess, but I mean it's like a flip a coin. So co-founder, of course, the market and genre, what you want to do, and like the most important thing is commercial terms. Like it's more important than ever because in 2020, everybody, including us, writing like a very insane valuations. I mean, we saw $20 million pre-seed. I mean, like how you gonna get a reasonable return from a $20 million pre-seed? It should be like a unicorn or like a corn. I'm not sure. But yeah, like commercial terms are more important than ever. And maybe Greg can guide me, but that's the one thing that we are struggling a lot for PC. How we can drive like a reasonable outcome from PC. In mobile, it's a little bit easy, but PC, like it's harder than ever in my point of view. But I'm super curious. Probably you will ask the same question to Greg later on. But
Greg, go on. Come on. We want to know.
All right, so the situation in PC is kind of interesting because you had a lot of companies being funded, during the COVID times. But the thing is that the companies are not being funded at the moment. So in a year or two, you're not going to see that many games that are being produced. So whoever is able to produce the game at the moment is actually having an additional advantage. So that's interesting fact that now you're gonna have less competition than you used to have.
yeah.
So that makes you more probable to succeed. Of course, it's always down to the team that you're gonna select, because you can have people with different experience, with different background, but if they deliver in their own company, that's a completely different thing. So you have to actually kind of risk and bet if they'll be able to transform, you know, from, for example, even if they work for a big company and then they want to go on their own studio, if they will be able to deliver what they promised, what they planned, if they're able to actually to set up the proper production process and deliver the game on time and quality that they had idea upon. And a lot of studios, they really want to skip the pre-production part because it's hardly fundable. So everyone wants just to go into production and, you know, make an asset and, okay, you know, we're gonna show you like the prototype or the demo, but they skip like the part on the paper, and that can be very, very hurtful. So it's gonna be a good time for PC studios who are able to deliver games, because there will be...
Any time frame?
I believe 2 or 3 years, because you cannot like hasten the development of the game, you know, like you cannot have like 9 women born a child in 1 month.
Sure. So when you look at an investment and you would like to go into it, would you consider a company that you see that they don't have really an interesting product, but they have a plan for staying alive for the next 3 years? Because then you would have like a, you know, insurance that they release the game like in a perfect moment.
Well, the very important fact is to see if the studio is betting everything on a single production. And because we had like, at least in Poland, you know, we had a couple of attempts that all the bets were set upon a single project. And if the project fails, the studio is dead. So probably that's the time for studios that are going to go for smaller projects that are more manageable and can be delivered by smaller teams. Because the successes, if you judge them by number of copies sold, were delivered in the last years by smaller teams. So in Poland, you know, you had Monolords, which was a single dev with some outsource, but Timberborn, you had Against the Storm, Riftbreaker. These were the teams of less than 10 people that delivered. And the teams that were operating on a bigger budgets and the bigger teams, for some reason, they didn't. And you can actually have to act upon data. Like, okay, you know, the reasons were different in every single case, but not a single budget of this sort worked. Smaller budgets work, so you have to act upon that.
So you would definitely consider like AAA products over anything else, right? Or
well,
am I wrong?
No one knows what the AAA is.
Yeah, you know, like a very good product made by a very small team.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually a direction, you know, like a smaller games, smaller teams that are able to work with each other and deliver on time, deliver on the quality, and iterate much faster, proved to be able to deliver better games than even like the bigger teams.
Tomek, I feel you want to tell us something about investing and high risk right now.
Yeah, I have actually a bit different point of view on this, like a risk-related game dev investments, because in a software, there is like you have founders who are solving like some kind of like real problem, market problem, and they are creating solution to solve it. So it's like a different situation where if you deliver such solution, your customers are very willing to pay for it. But in game dev, you're actually selling the entertainment. And of course, you can say that this is a problem, how to spend your free time, right? But you have like a lot of alternatives here. Okay, Ismet said that the game dev is like a super big and it's still growing market, over 3 billion players like around the world. Yeah, but I think that it's also like getting more and more competitive in terms of like, I look at the statistics from Steam from the last year. Only on Steam platform there was like 15,000 new games released. So this is like 40 games per day. Of course, most of them are like very small games made by one person probably, but also success rate defined as Steam published some data that only 500 games out of those 50,000 reach the gross sales like $3 million. So we can consider them like a kind of successful, but probably not for all of them because most of the games has a bigger budgets. So it shows that like 2-3% of the games listed on Steam are successful. So I think it's getting more and more competitive. So this is, at least for me, like a high risk investments, and we are like very selective there when investing on this market.
Okay, you basically scratched on one of the next question is about basically the turn-offs for you guys. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, in game dev also a bit different than in software because you don't have that much like a huge exits here. Actually, like exits like above like $1 billion are very rare in this segment. And in a like a traditional VC model, it works like that. You actually have like a very high expectations about the returns because especially when you invest like very early stage as we are, like those investments are super risky, and most of our portfolio will bankrupt after like a few years of our investment. So each of the company we invest in has to have a chance to return our funds. So it usually means that those businesses have to have the potential to be really huge, and actually in game dev it's kind of hard to achieve it. So yeah, that is how I see it in game dev. Actually, in software, it's much easier because the scaling is different. Yeah, and the exits are usually bigger.
Sure. Greg, any turn-off for you to invest in a company besides cash? Obviously, that's the second part.
I would say lack of research is one of the turn-offs that happening is to me quite often. So if you don't know who are you making the game for, that's one. Another thing, if you're budgeting for a game that needs to sell in millions and not a lot of games in this category sold in this volume, that's another one, because you cannot bet on success. That's kind of a risk in a risky business. That's just too much. You can bet what is average, and there's a lot of data to support how many copies of the game you can sell. That's one of the few industries that actually has the access to this amount of data that you can base your assumptions upon. But saying that the good game is gonna defend itself, it's not working. You actually need to know who you're making a game for. For example, Gen Z is doing completely different preferences in games than what the millennials used to do. So going for cooperation games, for all sorts of interaction that was not there when millennials used to play. They prefer like single player games, but now it's completely different. So if someone doesn't know who they're making the game for, and if they're betting that they have to sell like a significant number of copies, and only the hits in that category were able to do that, that's a turn-off for me.
Oh man, I think in mobile it's quite harder, right? Because we are talking about millions of downloads. So there are completely different turn-offs, right?
Yeah, like a lot of. But I mean, like, we are a pre-seed and seed stage VC, right? So most of the companies that we invest doesn't have a product yet. So most of the turn-offs we have is mostly related with the founders itself, because we believe in pivoting. So even your first game was not a hit, you can always pivot if the founder is too good. So since we started to operate, we actually went through more than 4,000 accounts, 4,000 companies, and personally, I look at least 75% of it. So when you do a call, from the eyes of the founders, you would understand whether they have enough skill set and resilience, right? For example, you guys. So I just describe Madcore as a cat with more lives. So you guys are that much resilient. You simply don't die.
How much do we have left?
We'll see about it, right? But it's still not 9 yet. So again, you will understand how resilient in the founders, because I think being a CEO of a gaming startup is one of the worst things that you can do in your life. Like, it's stressful, like it's like stretch deadlines, you work a lot, and outcome is so small. So that's why first thing that we look at it is whether you're resilient, right? You have everything to do so. And second, like depending what you want to do, we always look whether there is some certain skill set requiring. For example, in my point of view, if you don't have a CTO, it's no go for us. So you have to have a CTO, and you have to have some sort of like a background, what genre you want to do. For example, if you work a huge casino many years, and if you come to me, hey, I'm gonna do a word puzzle, I would definitely say no, because it's completely different stack, or vice versa. But again, most of the red flags and turnoffs we have mostly related with the founders, but of course there are some research mistakes or market analysis. For example, if you say I'm gonna do match 3, I just need $500,000, it's a no, of course.
Good. I would like to shift a little bit and go into a bit more grimier questions. So guys, I know you are on NDAs and all of that. So if you don't want to answer, just skip it. So it's all right. You know, because last year not many people, and this year as well, not many companies got funding at all. It's like crazy. So people are struggling. They don't get the money. They have very good talent. They usually have pretty cool companies on paper, because they got people from big companies. They have great technical knowledge. They done their research, and they don't get funding. So it's very hard to start a product, right? So the question is, because usually founders don't think about it, how is it on your side? Was it, or is it still very hard to get your funds together? Okay, Ismet, you can start, because I know you just finished your fund, so it will be way easier.
So it's the same whether you're a venture capital or startup, right? If you have a competitive advantage and if you have a USP, what you've done, you can always achieve. Right. For example, we have a USP positioning in our markets, and we have a special expertise on an ad tech and mobile. So we used it, leveraged it. Of course, it was hard, but we still managed to raise. So I think it's more related and more combined, whether you actually has some advantage compared to your competitors, or if there's an opportunity to do so. So it's hard. But
what is the advantage? Is it the studios that talk with you? Do you go with them to the
So,
LPs?
for example, we have a unique positioning in our market. We are one of the biggest guys, and like we have our first fund, which is was our money. So we deployed approximately $60 million from our own money from as partners. So it showed a confidence for external investors. Hey, these guys put that amount of money, their own cash, so they have to know something. But again, in nutshell. We have a geo-positioning, expertise positioning, and it worked for us well. But I won't say it's not easy. I won't say it's not hard. It was hard, but you know, like it's how life it is, right? There's always additional challenge. You need to cope with it, and I recommend you to do this. Don't blame others. Just look yourselves, because let's say that you try to fundraise and you didn't, and you cannot say that. Investors doesn't understand me. So first look why they rejected me. Or it's the same for venture capital, right? If I go to LP investor and I couldn't get money from them, I should ask myself, why didn't they invest me? Whether my metrics was bad, whether there's a mistaken opportunity. So it's the same, like whatever you think. So that's my take on it.
All right. I guess there are cycles, right? When LPs are more interested into investing in you as well. Are they like aligned with the cycles of investing in products? Like, I mean, overall in the genres, like, you know, there was match free, and a lot of people threw in money into that genres, right? Is it the same on LP side?
Yeah, like there's cycles in everywhere, right? For example, you mentioned there were no, like, let's say that low activity last year. The reason of the low activity, not because we don't have money or investors doesn't have money, because there's an opportunity window. We waited. Because the valuation's gonna go down, and many companies, some level of degree, will have to take less competitive deals. So that's why everybody waits, because I know a lot of VCs have millions of dollars in their bank account, so they waited because they will have more favorable conditions in 2024, and which is the case. That's why everybody is deploying a lot of cash at the moment, because the valuations are at least half compared to years. So there are cycles. I mean, LP perspective, I don't think they have like product mindset. They're more look at like outcome perspective. So right now the LP mindset is I'm getting an IRR from a bank from against US dollar 8 to 10%. So it's a secure return, whether you can give me 25 to 30% IRR per year as a venture capital. So that's the question they would ask. But the product side is more on VC. So I would say we need to look at it.
Greg, may I ask you, how was it last year, and how was the struggle or no struggle with getting LPs on board?
Well, everything, as was already said, is in cycles. So, you know, there are cycles where particular industries are attracting a lot of attention and a lot of capital. Of course, you know, like it's the same with game dev. Is it changing? Well, LPs are usually a bit more statistically professional investors than, you know, the most of the people investing directly. So it's not affected in such an extent as general investments. We've seen like a wave of, let's say, what I call stupid capital, you know, that was going into the industry in the COVID times. So people who had never invested before, you know, throwing the money at the companies that should never have been established. And we've seen them dying at the moment, you know, in a very rapid way. So it's not changing that much for VCs, so they're a much more stable way of distributing capital. There's much harder way to approach people to directly invest in your company. But it's slightly changing, you know. We've seen the bad times, and you know, bad times go after good times, and the other way around. So we're gonna probably see that changing, the sentiment changing in a few years again.
Sure. You guys closed your fund as well last year, right?
Yeah, we are kind of lucky because we closed it like actually end of 2022, so right before, you know, all this like inflation started.
You are rolling with it, right? Right now with the new fund.
Yeah, we are actively investing. Yes. So I think, you know, when you have like a tough environment, economic environment, it's actually, you know, normal that the capital flow from like a very risky asset, and actually VC is one of the riskiest assets on the market, to the more safest, you know, alternative, because, you know, we have like a higher interest rate, so the alternative assets also give you like pretty good returns. So this is also like about the economic cycles, right? But yeah, let me like take it from like a perspective of our region. This is also related with like a maturity of our market, because in Eastern Europe we are still like a relatively young VC market, and it is mostly financed by the public capital. So for example, in Poland, at the beginning of the last year, actually most of the VCs, local VCs, actually spend all their money, and they're actually waiting for, like, you know, another funding from the EU, and it was a bit postponed because all those like political stuff. So for example, in 2022 we had like around 100 VCs actively investing in Poland. In the end of the last year, there was like maybe 20 of them, so much less money on the market. So for those who actually raised the fund, it was a good time for investing, and we were actually lucky. In the last year, we made like over 10 investments because the competition was like lower in our region in general. But I think end of this year, the money will like start flowing again from the European Union, so we should see actually rebound of the VC market in our region. The new funds will be starting. So yeah, I think the next year will be like much more positive from that perspective.
So it will change, but there is a lot of hope, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
okay.
It will change for better.
Okay, that's cool. One thing, it's a little bit different question, because usually I will tell you very briefly about us. So when we fundraised a few years ago, and we had our products, you know, we sold them to some companies, whatever, everything was fine. But the question is, and I never thought about this until recently actually, what happens? Do you guys kind of struggle if we struggle? I mean, okay, you invested in us, everything is fine, we are happy, then like 2 years pass and nothing happens, the product is not ready or whatever. Ismet, what happens with the LPs? They read newspapers or websites, and they come to you and say, dude, there was a nice company, but or not?
So basically, we are a very transparent VC. So we simply report what are the good things and what are the bad things. It depends on your LP. I mean, in second fund we have more institutions. In first one, it's more like a high network individual. I would say it's not easy because it's always easy to report achievement, but it's really hard to, like I say. So the one thing is transparency, right? If you say, okay, like we fucked up, but we fucked up because of this, and this is the lessons we get from, it's more manageable. But if there's like a very idiotic mistake happen, it's really hard to tell because nobody wants to see failure, especially in an investor point of view. I mean, I know we see sometimes acting you hard, but believe me, our LPs are acting us hard either. So it's like a mutual bond.
Your companies understand that? They know that you invested, but you.
Like I don't think everybody puts their priority first, right? And it's nature of the business. So if you say something harsh for them, sometimes they get personal. But it is life. It is like a commerce. It is like a business. So I mean, but in nutshell, I cannot get into details, but. It's not easy, right? Cope with LPs. Like that's one thing that I can say.
One question: how much time of your week it takes to talk with your?
I mean, GPs, like let's say that at least 30% goes to LPs and managing LPs and reporting them. Especially if you have an anchor investor. I don't know their mix, but we have some two anchor investors, and they ask. Of course, they ask questions.
I can just imagine the week. You have the 30% of talking with them, and you go on a party with a company, and it's fun again.
That's why no hangovers for GPs, right?
Okay.
You have to always be available.
Greg, you had a lot of talks with your LPs?
Well, it depends. I believe we have two categories. People who want to be involved in a way, and people who just want to be like investors. Like passive ones. The thing is, if you're completely honest and transparent when you fundraise, so if the people are prepared that some companies are going to fail, because that's what the fund is for. It's gonna diversify what you invest in, and you actually need to be on top of that with even a single investment. So not all of them are going to be successful. And that's the very point. If there was no risk, there would be no reward. So we actually needed to be transparent with them and prepare them from the very start that some of the companies will fail, even if you do all the things properly, if you assess them, in a proper way, and the data is behind it, because sometimes it just fails because of a human factor. So LPs needs to be prepared that there will be bad news. And if they're aware from the very beginning of that, it's much easier to talk with them in the future if something fails.
Sure. You want to add something?
Yeah, I think it's the same in our case. Actually, most of our LPs are like high net worth individuals, and they are like there's like a very diverse group of the mostly entrepreneurs. So they actually understand how the market works, and that now it's like a tougher time, but probably we actually consider that current year and the year before it's pretty good for making like a new investments, because we will be actually exiting like the next 6-7 years. So the environment should change. But yeah, we are also like very transparent with our LPs. We are in a almost daily contact. We have like a WhatsApp group. They can ask us a question. We also consult with them like a lot of stuff when we, for example, assess a new company for investment. So they knew what's going on in our fund, and they understand, I would say.
Cool. We are running out of time, unfortunately. But I have one last question, because we in mobile, we are all about KPIs. So every year it changes what is the new sexy KPI. Like last year it was obviously LTV. Everybody was looking at the value of users, and like the year before it was retention and so on. So it changed. Obviously it depends with who you talk, but generally it was like that. So Ismet, I guess I know your answer, but it would be good to hear you just very briefly. What is the new sexy KPI? When people talk with you.
Yeah, 3 things. First, definitely ROAS. Second one is maximum margin you can drive a game, whether your ROAS could be at maximum 150, 200, 300. And third one is K factor. What's the percentage of organic in your overall mix?
Okay, okay, and on PC? Do you measure that besides, I mean, stuff like retention, something like that, because people pay upfront?
Well, to be honest, the only KPI that matters is numbers of copies sold. So,
But they don't know, like 3 years before launch.
yeah. So, you know, like wishlists were kind of a thing, you know, in the past. But the question was always, you know, how much of this is really worth it? You know, how much you can convert into the actual purchases. So there's not like a solid KPI you can judge, you know, very early on. Unfortunately, you know, you can have early access, you can have sales there, you can assess the size of the community, activities, and so on. But until you're actually releasing the game and, you know, doing the check, that's actually, you know, something that PCs are a bit slower upon. In mobile, you know, you can do the soft launches, you know, and measure a lot of stuff over there. But on PCs, until you actually release the game, either like a full one or at least in early access, you don't have like the final check. You can see how many people are being attracted, how many people are following, you know, how the wishlist is being built upon. But until you start selling, you know, everything is just, you know, writing in the sand.
Sure. And you are looking, when you look at like game-related stuff?
Yeah, of course. Is it the software? It's more like you know, the initial traction. It's hard to like say one specific KPI. When we invest in like mobile games, it's what Ismet mentioned. But for us, like the most important, I would say, KPI is like a human factor. So we invest like very early stage. So the you know, the understanding, the people, like feeling the flow between the funders. Actually believe that those are the best people which can like you know, build the given company in this specific space. It's the most important for us, and it will be.
Hear that a lot, that you guys invest in good companies. Anyway, thank you very much, and I learned a lot actually. I think it's very interesting to hear your perspective. You know, not just asking you for money or whatever, but just hear that you know, you have a lot of work to do to get us some cash. Thank you.